In the previous two segments, I've been talking to Catlin, who is an advocate for women in tech, a leadership coach, and my co-author of our book, Present a Techie's Guide to Public Speaking. Karen and I have been digging into the importance of mentorship. We started out by talking about why you might be reluctant to seeking a mentor. Then we talked about how you can effectively establish the relationship. If you've missed either of those segments, I highly recommend you check out the links below this video. In this final segment, we're going to talk about how you can become an effective mentor yourself. Welcome back to Build, brought to you by Pivotal Tracker. I'm your host, Poornima Vijayashanker. Each Build episode consists of a series of conversations I have with innovators, and together we debunk myths and misconceptions related to building products, companies, and your career. Now, I know at the beginning, Karen, you mentioned how you love mentoring because you get to learn a lot, and I feel the same way. I think I actually learn more than maybe my mentees do, and that's why I love doing it. But let's talk about some of the benefits that you're going to experience should you choose to mentor.
Sure. So yes, it's definitely a two-way street. Mm-hmm. You may not know what you're going to be learning from a mentee, but by getting together, hearing about what's going on, the questions they ask, you are going to get insight into how you can, benefit your career. You might just get a good broad perspective of what's going on around your company or your industry. And as I mentioned, maybe some great ideas for podcasts that I could listen to, or books I can read, or productivity apps I could use. I don't even know what it's going to be, but I always pick up something when I talk to a mentee.
Yeah, I feel like it's a great way to stay relevant,
yes,
especially as some of us get a little bit older and maybe we're not as in the know.
Okay. So one time I was talking to someone and they said TLDR. And this was a few years ago, to my credit, but I'm like, TLDR, what's that mean? So I asked and they said, oh, just too long, didn't read. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so just now I'm able to just weave that into conversations and all of a sudden I seem really relevant.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Totally. So you can speak the lingo.
Exactly.
Now, when you were at Adobe, did you just mentor women or do you also mentor men as well?
Sure. So as a senior woman at the company, I definitely was approached by a lot of women for mentoring. Mm-hmm. But men approached me too, and I did definitely mentored both genders. And I think it's important for a mentee to get advice from people who don't look like them, mm-hmm. whether that is because of your gender or your life experience, your other things that you're bringing to the company, bringing to the table. It's important for a mentee to get advice from people who aren't like them because it's going to broaden the set of advice that they're going to get, sure. Right? And likewise, because mentoring is a two-way street, it's good for mentors to mentor people who don't look like them mm-hmm. too, because that is going to allow them to learn, get different perspectives and all of that. So I think it's everything is up for grabs here. Yeah.
What about people who may worry that they don't have the same experience or perspective, and so they might not feel credible sharing their life experience with a mentee?
Oh my gosh, don't overthink it. That's my advice for mentors here, because the mentee has approached you because they respect you mm-hmm. and they want to learn from you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about, am I going to be able to provide just the right piece of experience or advice? Don't worry about it. Just have a conversation, share stories, share your experience. It's going to make a difference to the mentee.
I want to tackle a couple other issues that I see come up a lot when I recommend people mentor and they're resistant to. And the first is time. I'm just so busy. I have kids, I have a family, I have other obligations. I just don't have the time to be somebody's mentor.
Yeah. And I get that because we all are very busy. That said, if someone approaches you because they want to get your advice, you might, and they haven't time boxed it following my advice from an earlier segment here, ask them, well, what are you really asking for mm-hmm. here? Can we get together maybe, if you're busy, you might say, can we get together for a 30-minute phone call, for mm-hmm. example, and ask yourself, do I have time maybe for a 30-minute phone call? Chances are you have some small segment of time that you could offer to a mentee. And so you can be responsible for saying, well, this is what I can give you, and this is all I've got right now. If you're really too busy, you might just say, the next 2 months, I am just, super busy on this project. Can you ping me in, 3 months' time? And I bet I'll have some time for you then.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good to give people kind of that realistic picture.
Yes.
One thing I like to do, actually, two things I like to do. if somebody comes to me and I know they have that good directed question, like I got this one recently, how do you self-publish? Well, I've already written 2 posts, like pretty meaty ones. So I tell them, read these posts. And then if you have any other questions, shoot me an email. Right. I'm traveling a lot. I'll be sure to respond to you via email, but trying to find a 30-minute time spot across time zones, this is not going to work for both of us. Right. So I think that that's great. The other thing I say is, and you do this because you speak at a lot of events, I say, I'm going to be at this event. Why don't we just meet there? And when I'm kind of in between sessions, would be great to come out and have a chat with you. So great. I think finding those opportunities and keeping it more flexible.
Yeah. And doing what you can to just help the person, whether that is with your actual mentoring or making a recommendation for another mentor.
Yeah.
I have had times, over my career where really my mentoring dance card was just full. I really, really couldn't take on any more mentees. And when those things happen and someone approached me for mentoring, I would explain my mentoring dance card is full. What are you really looking for from a mentor? And then I might recommend that they reach out to someone else at my company, right? Just help them, move them forward in some way.
Definitely. Now, I know another hurdle is relevancy. Again, kind of, the mentee might say, I'm looking for somebody in data science. I might say, I don't know anything about data science. I'm just a front-end engineer or I'm a designer. Why are you approaching me, right? It doesn't seem like my work is exactly relevant. So I don't know if this is a good fit.
Yeah. So it's so funny. Just a couple days ago, a mentee was reaching out to me and asking, hey, Karen, I am thinking about putting on a women's only hackathon. And I'd like to get your advice about how to do this. And I had to tell her, it's like, well, actually, I have very little experience with hackathons. Even though I'm an advocate for women in tech, I think this is a great idea, but I don't have direct relevant experience to share with you. However, I do know about this one tech company who has run a women's only hackathon. And I mentioned the name of the company. And she said, oh, I know people who work there. I'll reach out to my network there to find out a little bit more. So again, this notion of I pushed her forward, I helped her out without really being able to answer her direct question, whether that was on data science or a hackathon.
Yeah.
And so this notion, and I've done this with so many mentees, is this notion of encouraging them to think about their network. Who else could they tap to get that specific experience or advice they're looking for?
Yeah. So part of your mentorship is also helping them see what they've already got, see the resources that they have at their disposal.
Exactly.
It's not all about you having to do the work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. What about accountability? A lot of times people say, how can I hold my mentee accountable, make sure they're hitting milestones, make sure that they're successful?
Yeah. Gosh, maybe I should be doing a better job at this, but I really feel that as a mentor, my job is not to take any action items from the meeting. It is to provide my experience, my advice, my thoughts. But really, I'm expecting the mentee to be taking notes, to be figuring out what they're going to do next, and to be making progress. I don't take any of that on me, but maybe I should be. I don't know, to help them. We all benefit from having accountability partners. It's just that as a mentor, I'm already giving a lot of my time. I don't feel I need to be doing that as well.
Okay. So maybe that's something more a sponsor would do, or maybe a coach if you hire them?
Yeah, a coach would definitely do that for you. And otherwise, maybe it is a buddy or a friend or a colleague that you might want to reach out to. In addition to having the mentor, you have an accountability partner who helps make sure you're making the progress you want to make.
So I've had this happen a number of times where somebody that I mentored, I see very quickly that it is not just about getting that promotion or improving a particular thing about their career. There's some other stuff going on. It might be a personal issue. And so how would you recommend answering that as the mentor?
Yeah, mentors and coaches, frankly, we're not therapists.
Yeah.
We're not trained in helping people through some deep personal issues. And so I remember a situation where someone had some things going on with, I think it was a teenage child. And even though I'm a mom of teenagers, I still felt that this was something I did not feel qualified or really feel right about providing guidance. Happy to share what I've done as a parent in different situations, but that's not getting to this point of providing therapy. So I've really had to sort of redirect the conversation and stay away from it, frankly.
Yeah, so set some clear boundaries and make sure that they understand that.
I'm not a therapist.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I want to go back to one of the earlier things that we had talked about around coaching people that, may not look like you. Mm-hmm. And I know as an advocate for women in tech, one of the things that you do is coach men to become better allies for women. Mm-hmm. So start by telling me what exactly is a male ally?
Yeah. So an ally is anyone who is in the majority mm-hmm. and really has a point of privilege as a result, and maybe a little bit of power that other people don't have because they're not in the majority. So in tech, it's typically white men who have the position of power. They're the majority. And so it's an important thing for them to realize that they have this role to fill as an ally for women or anyone who's underrepresented in tech. They have a role to play to help those people be successful, to feel that they can be that they're welcome somewhere, that they can be included, that they can grow their career and have an impact there. So a male ally, that's what I look to them to do, is to make their environments, their teams, their company culture more welcoming and inclusive to people who don't look like them.
How do you help men to become male allies?
Yes, I believe there are everyday simple actions that men can take to make their environments more welcoming and inclusive. For example, and this is something that I think that pretty much every woman who's professional or maybe every woman working in tech, I'll go as far as to say that, has had this experience where they have been talking in a meeting and some man with deeper vocal cords and a louder voice just interrupts them and sort of steers the conversation in a different direction. So there's a phrase for it, man-interrupting. We've heard that before. Sure. So what can a male ally do when they witness that behavior, when they're sitting across the table and seeing it going on? They can say something with their deep, strong vocal cords. Hey, I actually was interested to hear what Anna had to say. Let's bring the conversation back to her. That's an example of an everyday action a man can take to be an ally for women in that meeting. Yes. Another example might be this whole idea of idea hijacking, I like to call it. So again, I think so many of us have had the experience where we have said something brilliant, awesome in a meeting, and it kind of fell on deaf ears at the time. And then maybe a couple minutes later in the meeting, someone else says the same brilliant thing. Often it's a man, only because there are going to be so many men in these meetings, right? So what's a male ally to do in that situation when they notice that an idea has been hijacked by someone else? They can say something simple like, yeah, I really like that idea. And when Jen said it a few minutes ago, she phrased it this way. I like the way you've built on it, or something like that. Okay, another everyday action a man can take to help the women and underrepresented minorities be successful.
It's great that you are coaching men to have these everyday actions that are important and impactful. Do you have any others that you would like to share?
Oh, sure. So here's another space I'll call it, forget about meetings. Let's move on from meetings. We all need to have networks, to be successful, to hear about opportunities, to hire from, right, when we're trying to fill roles at our company, or to find jobs if we're looking for jobs. And if we let our networks grow naturally and organically, chances are we're going to have networks of people who are just like us, just like me networks. We enjoy the same hobbies. We went to the same school. We enjoy doing and talking about the same things, right? That's just human nature to reach out to people we enjoy spending time with. Sure. That's our network. And so I think we have a role to play, especially if we're a male ally, but we should really be looking to diversify our networks so that our networks aren't just like us and that they're filled with people who are of different backgrounds, different experiences, went to different schools, worked at different companies, and so forth. And for men specifically, I challenge them, if they go to some networking event or a Friday afternoon beer bash or something, go introduce yourself to someone who doesn't look like you. Yeah. You can define that however you want, but someone who doesn't look like you.
Maybe shorter than you.
Maybe shorter, yes. Darker skin, gender, whatever it is. And say hello, get to know them a little bit, and see if there isn't something that you can either learn from them or that you can do for them as a result of just getting to know them a little bit. And that challenge, I think, is important, and I try to embrace it too. I mean, when I go to a networking event, I tend to like to look for the women that I want to meet and, reach out to them, and it's easier for me to have those conversations. It's a little more intimidating for me to go up to a young man in a hoodie and introduce myself and start a conversation, but I try to do that myself because I think it's important for me to diversify my network. So it's good advice for not just male allies, but probably for all of us.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Karen. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm sure our audience is going to get a lot out of this. Why don't you let us know how we can get in touch with you?
Sure. You can get in touch with me on my website. There's a contact page, and that is KarenCatlin.com. And if you want more everyday actions you can take to support diversity, inclusion, create a welcoming environment at your company, check out the Twitter handle @BetterAllies.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll be sure to share the links below the video. That's it for our episode on mentorship. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive the next episode. And if you've enjoyed this segment, then please be sure to share it with your friends and your colleagues. And finally, a special thanks to our sponsor, Pivotal Tracker. Ciao for now. This episode of Build is brought to you by our sponsor, Pivotal Tracker.